Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson, blending survival fiction and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Hello and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode number 384. Hey Chen, what's up?
Hey, chin's up. How y'all doing?
Doing good. So I heard back from my editor today, and looks like Vergis will be ready about the end of February. So probably like mid-February we'll jump on that book.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And what else is going on? I got pretty much the whole 1 to 4 casted, and voices are getting recorded, so I'm gonna air that show a little bit differently now. I'm just gonna release it in blocks of 4 for the season, so yeah, a little bit more easier to handle. We got the new podcast over on PBN, the Girls from Europe. What's that one called? The Hype? Don't Believe the Hype or something?
Or Believe the Hype.
Believe the Hype.
Yeah, I think that's something like that.
I listened to it. That was interesting.
They're fun to listen to. And we're getting to hear from people in like England and Italy, right?
Right.
So,
boots on the ground.
Yeah, on the other side.
Yeah.
From a different view, yep.
Yes.
So
I really like that. There was some interesting points they made that I wouldn't have known about, so that was a cool show to listen to.
Earth and Canada. It's good to have different, like, I love when Ellen comes on and we hear about the Aussie aspect.
Yeah. Ellen's
Better,
out on the boat.
Just sit in the barrack and think we know it all.
Yeah. Definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
Waterfall system is doing wonderful. It is.
Never broke it.
It is. Yeah, it's nice and broken. I mean, it works every time with the hose. It's like it's always been there now. So, water storage woes solved, guys. Go check it out. Waterfall. Waterfall. If you pick one up, use the code Sarah, S-A-R-A. Help the Changing Earth world go round. I'm gonna have like commercial out and my video out soon. Video editing is like the bane of my existence, so my son's working on that one for me. I'm going to do some more audio clips for it. Yeah, so I'll have that out soon. James got the new website put together. It looks really good.
PBN Family?
Yep, pbnfamily.com, right? .com? Yeah. So no weird dots on that one. pbnfamily.com. It looks really nice. He did a good job. So
yeah, the site, right?
What's that? The member site?
I think member site. Yeah.
It looks really good. So become a member, become a Changing Earth member, and hang out with us.
Yep.
All right. So yesterday was a crazy day on the sun.
I saw your post.
Oh my gosh. There was this huge plasma ejection. Like, just a piece of
a trillion?
Yes.
A
trillion.
It's like 3/4 ton, right? Yeah. That's a trillion. I was trying to wrap my mind around that.
It's like a whole section of it just peels off and blasts into space, and we missed it by 30 degrees.
And it doesn't, like, I watched it like 3 times. It doesn't look that monstrous.
It looks so peaceful, right?
Compared to the sun, yeah. It wasn't like violent but then when he says a trillion tons.
And did you see how big the Earth is compared to that?
Yeah.
The Earth is like a little needle dot that he's got the box around. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would just, that would be a different day on planet Earth if we got hit by one of those things. That is for sure. So yeah, interesting stuff. Pretty cool. Like, I haven't been watching it as long as Ben has, obviously, So that's definitely like the biggest solar discharge I've ever seen since I've been watching it. So yeah, very cool stuff. All right, so today we're talking about goats because we moved to Texas a couple years ago. We got this blank piece of land, and but nothing like we can't go super big because we only have an acre. But of course, we were going to have our gardens, and I was out shooting on the archery range yesterday, which was great. I got my bow out of the mothballs.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And you're right about hanging the carpet as a backdrop or something as a backdrop.
Yeah. So you don't have to chase them.
Yeah, Brock Swiss cheesed the wood a couple times. I'm like, bang. Get him on point, man. So, It's to be expected. You know, your first arrow, your sights, you're going to stand in different spots. So, but yeah, that was cool. So that's my project. That was the windbreak. Because I'm battling Texas winds with my tomato plants, so hopefully that's going to work too. I'm going to let you know how that goes this year. But what we're struggling with right now is trying to find a protein source that we can raise in the space we have and be comfortable with it. So I lived on 40 acres before. I've raised goats before, not milking goats, but just pasture like goats for helping with the land. Pigs, ducks, we've been through it. The rabbits. And, so we're trying to find our niche again.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to really start it with the caveats, but I'm definitely on the fence with these goats, The ones my in-laws had, in California, they break out of everything because they were the big ones, normal size, not dwarf ones. So they break out of everything. They would open the door of the house and come in her house. I don't know. I'm definitely not sold it, and so I wanted to go to task doing some research. I utilized my Back to Basics books, of course, my yellow book that I love, and
I've got a copy of their raising dairy goats that I've had for several years now. Trying to do my research on how to put protein on my property, so I pulled that out, skimmed through that one again.
Okay, good book.
Yep. I mean, it really covers a lot, but
yeah, I might have one of those floating around. Or just there's a good website that I found too that was raising goat website. And then of course we've done a goat episode before on the Changing Earth in the past with Survivor Jane, who loves her goats and
That's my other book. There's Secret Livestock of Survival, which I mentioned last week because they talk about rabbits. But so I went, that was they got a whole section on goats in there, and their goats are included in their Christmas cards and everything else.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yeah, so we've done that before, but then I also picked Dave's brain a little bit, Dave Jones's brain, before coming on air, because I know that he was raising goats. They were producing really well. His wife makes some great soap out of it. Let me tell you, that stuff was awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
It was one of those soaps that's almost too pretty, to use it, but the crafter's you better use the soap. You're like, oh, okay.
Gave some that was made to help with poison ivy because she heard my mom had it.
Yeah, Brock gets poison ivy, poison oak really bad, so she hooked us up with a bunch of that as well.
Soap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't remember what she used.
They got it going on. They got a lot of skills covered over there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's why I was like, Dave, hey, give me this. Give me the scoop here, because this is one animal that I kind of dabbled with, but not really.
You're not the only one, because a bunch of hosts have been asking Dave to pick his brain. They were just in the back channels talking about quail this week.
Yeah.
Because they were asking him about quail, too. So, yeah.
I thought about raising quail and pheasant before, because, it can be a high commodity item for fancy type restaurants.
Yeah.
To get the quail eggs And then the bird itself. So I've thought about that when we were back in California. And if I end up going just all like small animals, then it's easy to build pens across the yard.
Yeah. I'd rather have a chicken than a bunch of quail, right?
Right? Yeah. I mean, but it can be like an income.
Quail, the size of the eggs.
They're tiny. They're tiny. Ooh, maybe I should look at like raising emu or ostrich. They have like the great big eggs. You can sell them for like $1,000 a piece.
And the thing has gotten loose, and I've had it show up on my trail.
Yeah.
I like that chicken.
Emus are freaking crazy. They have like the velociraptor tail for toe, you know, in the front, like the slicer toe.
I saw them yesterday. Well, on their property, but I saw him yesterday. He was like, come over looking at us.
Yeah.
Great.
I've seen him before too. Like this guy kept it in like a dog kennel. I was like, I don't know.
I was in like horse pasture.
Yeah, crazy. So, I don't know. I guess I could look into that too. Alpaca, I guess.
An omelet would feed the whole family.
Right? Yeah, with the egg. You get like one. And I don't think they lay them very often. That's why they cost so much. So, alright. So, goats. If you guys have suggestions for animals that I should check out for raising on a small micro homestead, please send them my way. I'm doing the research.
Show in the green room. It's like, what about this one? What about that one?
Right?
The animal.
Yeah, after doing goats, I gotta say I'm swinging back towards the bunnies again. So I'm making cool areas for them.
You know, you were telling me Dave had it. Like, they tie you to the land.
Yes.
Goats.
That's my biggest thing, because I go travel with my books and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's difficult.
That's a issue.
Mm-hmm. Because they have to be milked twice a day, like if you want to keep them producing. And then to just have like Jane Pet Sitter come to your house or whatever. You know, can you milk my goats while you're at it? You know,
dog hotel or something, right?
Yeah, it's not just like a skill that you pick up.
You got a goat boarding facility,
right? Maybe I could get together with a local farmer and be like, hey, I'll just raise some of your goats, you know, to age for you in exchange for milk supply and some meat or something like that. So that could work out. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into it. So, we're already giving you the negatives right off the bat here. It's obvious.
It's not negative, it's just we're trying to wrap our head around the big picture, not just the, like, I mean, they've got positives. It's not that they're all negative.
Exactly. But it's important not to romanticize something and then get into it, and then you're like...
Jumping around, they are the cutest things ever.
Right, the little guys? Yeah, I know. You
don't need to when you got little baby goats jumping around.
But again, it's like puppies, right? Like, the puppy, and then like the reality of having the puppy for the first few nights, and you're like, I just want to like destroy you. You know?
And then like a dog is, 10 to 15 years of, if it lives a good life. So, you have to you are responsible to take care of that.
Right.
That life and make it a good life as good as you can.
Right. Well, one of the things that attract me to the goat is, like we don't drink a whole lot of milk. I mean, my youngest son is kind of a milkman. But we eat a lot of cheese. And we cook with a lot of milk. There's a lot of milk in a lot of our meals, So I was like, okay. Also, the milk from a goat is easier to digest because the fat cells are smaller. Yeah, so it's a less allergenic, which is good for my stomach. I kind of look for stuff like that.
For what was something about people with some conditions? What was it?
It's got to be the milk allergy, the lactose intolerant.
I guess I didn't write it down. There was a couple different conditions that people had that, it was better for it. I didn't write it down.
Yeah, instead of cow milk. Because the fat separates from the milk or whatever.
Oh no, that's something different. Sorry. Squirrel.
You're good. So what attracted me to the goats was the space. Like, you don't need as much space, especially if we went with the Nubian dwarf goats. Yeah, you're not going to get as much milk, but from what I've heard, a lot of goats go like into crazy production, and then you have way too much. So I was like, well,
yeah,
if we're only getting a little bit from the little guys, then that'd be better, right?
Same, like when he had three females producing, he was getting about 1.5 gallons of milk a day.
Right? That's insane.
So think about that. Every 2 days you have 3 gallons of milk sitting in your fridge.
Yeah.
Go to the grocery store. I mean, how much milk do you buy?
Yeah, we buy like 1 gallon maybe a week, because of Christian.
So, if when they're actually in milk, his 3 were producing 1.5 gallons.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's too much. That's too much. So that's why I was thinking, wow, if I want, the dwarf ones are cuter. And they don't need as high a fencing, So I was like, well, if we went with those guys, then that might be a better deal. So if I do, that's definitely the way I'm going. But they don't need like a huge amount of pasture space, although that is better, and you should be able to rotate them from one pasture to another. So you should have enough space to at least rotate them, get them off one pasture, and put them on another. It's got to be well-drained ground because they can get foot rot if they're standing in moist ground for too long, and you don't want to have them standing in their own feces or anything like that, of course.
Yeah, they're not big on, they don't like puddles and streams and lakes and rain. Mm-hmm. They don't like.
Yeah, they like dry areas, and they have to have it to keep their feet nice. A rock for climbing helps maintain their nails, and they look cute as heck climbing it, so that's a good idea.
I love jumping around on stuff.
Right? Yeah.
You need a little play.
I was thinking you just custom make a concrete rock.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Good.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so barn space is another thing. In my Back to Basics book, it was 5 square foot of barn space per goat, and I was like, that is so tiny. That's 5 square foot.
Yeah, really? I read each doe needs 10 square feet of interior space.
Another article that I read was 16 square foot. So, old school methodology versus new school methodology, right?
Yeah.
They don't do well in drafty spaces. Overheating can be a problem. So that's definitely, it's hot down here. So that's that for me. So I have some breeds that are good and then some that are good for the warmer weather. And then they need separate grain stations because you shouldn't over grain feed them. So allowing them different spaces to eat prevents that dominant one from, just eating everybody's food and then getting sick.
A lot of people feed them their grains and their minerals and stuff when they milk them in the milking stand. If you see, they have a little trough that put their head in when they're up on the milking stand.
Right.
And that's how you eat, how each goat gets.
Make sure quantity. That each one gets their own allotment. And then the babies should have their own stall. So when you're laying out their house, you got to think about those things. The milking area should be separate from the actual eating area and stuff because it's got to be maintained. It's got to be really, really clean in their milk area is what I was reading. So as far as breeds go, there's the Alpine, the Sonen, Soanen, Toggenburgs. Mm-hmm. I love that one. Toggenburgs. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. I'm from Michigan, so And the Oberhasli. All good breeds for milking goats.
So, do you know what? When I am watching TV, I have Amazon. I swear, every the free movies and they pop in the little commercials.
Yeah.
It's winter in Michigan commercials.
Yes, Michigan.
Let's do winter.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no.
trying to get their traveling up. I'd love to do winter in Michigan. I'd go back up there and do some ice skating, some pond skating. I grew up skating ponds, so it's definitely on my list of things to enjoy.
And snow biking. I've seen the commercial 20,000.
Cross country skiing.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Nigerian dwarf, though, like Dave's wife was like, get Nigerian goats. They're the Nubians.
Yeah.
The Nubians are the big ones that are good, and they're good for warmer weather.
Yeah, oh, okay.
And then, I can't remember, now I'm confusing myself.
Jane has.
Yeah, I don't know what kind. I think she has, I don't know. I think it was the Nigerians, the big ones though, and then they have the Nigerian dwarf ones. And I think that's why I'm getting confused. So that's the direction you want to go. I was thinking the dwarf just because. But like, they were saying with the dwarf ones, because they're so little, that sometimes it's easier to just use like the milking machine on them.
But they're not like, so there's dwarfs and then there's pygmies.
Right.
So like so like my only real exposure is what I've seen of Rick and Jane, right? Mm-hmm. So they have the Nigerian dwarfs, and they're not like dwarf, like small, tiny.
Okay.
They're like like an Australian Shepherd or
type size.
Then a German Shepherd, yeah, but they're about that size, like a medium-sized dog.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Tiny.
Yeah,
no,
we have like the big ones.
Yeah. They're not like a deer. They're not like the height of a deer.
Mm-hmm. Which
goats remind me a lot of deer, you know?
Yeah. They have the same type of hoof structure and all that. So.
But yeah, so like a medium height dog is kind of what the dwarf is like, and then I guess they got
then the pygmies, which are like super tiny. Okay, that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, so appearance, what you're looking for is well-rounded udders with smooth, elastic skin and no lumps. Straight back with a broad rib cage. And then a long trim body, because the idea is you want them to maximize what they eat, its turnover in the milk. So if they're not putting on a lot of fat, that's good. Mm-hmm. They don't usually keep the males. Like if you have a small farm like we're putting together, you don't usually have a male at your farm because you basically like have to keep it away from them all the time or it taints the flavor of the milk. So they were saying like typically you just have a farmer that has like a bigger setup and then you just take your girls over there to get bred or whatever.
Or you have to have two separate penned areas on your property.
Yes.
You have to have the boys in the girls' camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brucellosis.
Yeah. And you have date.
Yeah, the date night. They should be tested for brucellosis and tuberculosis about once a year. Those are actual diseases they can carry that pass through the milk to humans. So it's interesting. I've been hearing a lot about the brucellosis. It was weird because they had it in Yellowstone, the TV show about his cows. And then like legitimately in Yellowstone, it's a problem right now with the buffalo. So I was like, wow, this is coming up a lot. And then you should have more than one goat, obviously, because they get sad when they're all by themselves.
They want to be hanging out there.
Yeah, with others. So if you're not milking your goat, their wild foraging is usually enough as long as you have enough space for them to like keep getting new stuff, and they should have some leaves and branches and weeds and tough grass around.
Yeah, they love leaves. Like off the tree and off the ground. They just love leaves.
Yeah, I was telling Brock, like once we had our orchard going, they could do some cleanup in there. You know, just put them out in there for 5 minutes or something so they don't get an upset stomach, but can do cleanup.
Yep. Then they can your fruit too, you know?
Yeah, off the ground, right? Because some of it goes down, and then the ants are all over it, and then it's a problem.
Bees and wasps and stuff, so to get it removed from the property. Yeah.
Their hay should be put in a manger or hung because they really don't like eating it off the ground. And then
in the manger?
Yeah, in the manger. Yep. And a milking doe should get about 2 to 4 pounds of grain per day. This is corn, oats, or wheat bran with a soybean or cottonseed oil and maybe molasses. So if they don't have that available, you can do like calf starter or horse grain, kind of supplements that. But don't overgrain your animals. They can get colic just like horses.
Yeah.
It's like a bloating of the stomach and they can't really belch and it's not good. Females, if you have 2, you can breed them in opposite spectrums and that way they milk all year. Otherwise you have periods of like feast and famine because they're at the same time.
Do all this milk.
Yeah, right. After 18 months old, you can start breeding them once a year. They come into heat between the fall and early spring. They have a 2-day long heat about every 18 to 21 days. And that's when you take them to the male, or you can artificially inseminate them as well if you know where you can make that happen. Maybe you can order it off online now. I don't know. They often have twins. It's important for the babies to get the colostrum, and then you remove them to their safe
great. Space. That's like shortly after they're born, they have to get that, right?
Yeah, it's the antibiotic. It's like the first milk that comes out of mama is the colostrum. No. Yeah,
and you can get that, can't you? If you can't, can you buy some of that?
I don't know, because it's like only the first milk, and it only lasts for a little bit.
Yeah, that's like gold. I remember hearing.
Mm-hmm. And then for the babies, you feed them a half to a third of a pint 3 times a day from a bottle or a pan for the first 2 weeks, and then you gradually reduce that milk supply and supplement it with grain or hay. And I remember Jane saying too that she liked separating mama from the babies because then they get more used to being hand raised. They're easier to deal with.
With people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then after your doe has her babies, you got to milk it twice a day, and you have to keep the schedule regular. So, I mean, that's a commitment.
That socializing with humans is cool. Homesteading animals.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, if they're not used to you, somebody could get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Goat, like anything, pigs, goats, cows, rabbits will bite you. You know, I mean, there's just
claw you. Some of the worst. My father-in-law was a vet, and some of the worst scars he had was from rabbits.
Really?
Yeah, and he was a large animal vet. He dealt with all kinds of things, and some of his worst scars were rabbits. Yeah,
it's important to if you're raising animals to get in there and spend time with them.
Mm-hmm. And it gives you time to clean them and make sure everybody's healthy and stuff like that. So your milking station, like I mentioned before, it should be separate from your feeding area. It's got to be clean. You have to be clean, and the goat needs to be clean. Mm. You don't want dirty dust and feces in your milk. Gross. It's
chalk.
So I was like, ew, when I read this. So like for me with the farm fresh eggs, I usually crack my egg individually and then put it in with whatever I'm cooking just to make sure that egg is good every time, especially if I have a rooster.
Oh yeah, you don't dump it like right into your recipe, you put it.
Right, yeah. Crack it into a separate container. Well, they recommend doing the same thing like when you first start milking, to milk it into a cup first just to make sure that like there's no blood or anything like that. Because then if you go straight into your big supply, then you blow up the whole thing. So, you wipe down the udders with a warm, moist cloth first. It helps to clean and reduce or to relax the muscles. And then you milk the teats alternatively, and then when milk subsides, you massage the udder and milk again. So that's all very interesting stuff. I've never milked an animal, so that would be rather intimidating.
It's not as easy as some people make it look.
Right? You know, maybe that's what I'll do. I'm gonna go, like, meet somebody who's doing it and, like, try my hand at it before I'm like, oh yeah, let's build it and set it up.
That's a great suggestion on any homesteading animal.
Mm-hmm.
If you could meet somebody to kind of be your, like
a
if
mentor.
A mentor.
Because they're already down the road anyway, so if you had questions in the future, you could go to them.
I come help you, whatever.
Yeah.
And, on weekends, go help them and get to the point where maybe, they could have a day off if you learn how to do it. And then that'll get you prepped for, instead of just watching a video or reading a book, you're actually like
hands-on experience with it.
What the chickens, what to do with the rabbits, what to do with the goats or the pigs or whatever.
Yep. And like I say, we have limited space. Yeah. So what I choose, we have to kind of be, all in on. We don't have enough space to do a lot of different things. So,
yeah, you can give up some of your time if they give up their knowledge, and everybody wins.
Yeah. And I haven't known a person who had animals and stuff that wouldn't be like, yeah, come on over and help out,
Yeah, for free.
Yeah, right? I mean, when we were raising all our chickens, we had like 200 of them on the property at once. Man, I would, any help is great. You got feeders and eggs and, yeah, it's going crazy. But honestly, our chickens are easy. We can keep the predators away. So, they're a very big plug and play animal, which is why I don't understand why we have an egg shortage. We need to just start like having more and more backyard. Yeah. The
gateway drug of homesteading.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, that's an idea. I mean, alternatively, I can just expand my coop so I have more eggs. Eggs are going up in price right now anyway. All my neighbors love my eggs, want to buy my eggs anyhow. We're just not bringing enough in to do it. And then I can set up a coop for meat birds and then raise my own chicken as well. So that's an alternative idea that could really work, and do rabbit with that. And that's an interesting idea.
Sell some, barter some, whatever.
Right? So with talking with Dave too, his wife told me that the prices of hay have gone up so much that it made it a lot more expensive if you don't have the pasture land to graze them. And you have to increase feed and stuff for mama and make sure she's getting what she needs, anybody who's producing milk. So, because of that increase in hay cost, it made it offset, the return on the investment a lot. So, that's something else to think about.
I don't know how I could ever produce enough. I don't have pasture land to do the hay thing.
Right. Well, lucky for me, like in my area, a lot of people grow Bahia grass, and they just have fields that they hay. And then they have these huge hay rolls sitting there. So I'm sure I could just like get together with one of my neighbors and be like, hey.
I would have to get it from somebody in the community. I can't. I wouldn't be able to produce my own.
Yeah. No, we don't have enough space for that for sure. But we could definitely go more orchard bound and keep going with our gardens, and then just do smaller meat producers and figure out, some hatching houses for the chickens instead of having to always just buy them as chicks. So that's definitely a thought right there. Something I'm really good at. I've already run an egg business before, so I could handle that one. I don't know about these goats. Now, after the research today, because I was like, yeah, we're doing it. After the research today, I was like, what about going to prepper camp? I'm gone for a week every year.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, I can't fly in because I have to bring too much stuff with me.
And that would still be 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The event is 3 days, so it's got to be at least.
And then forget any other kind, because I'm off to like expos and stuff like that, and on trips back all over the country. So, like, forget about it.
Yeah, if you have to go out on business, to the office or something, then unless you just went, your family or partner stays.
Yeah, I know. And then the family's always got to be split up.
Yep. Maybe they need a breakthrough.
Maybe.
I say miles away outside of
yeah, outside of my reach. Oh, yeah. I have been around more youngsters as of late, like 20-year-olds and stuff. And these kids, they are... When you're so torn about your own identity within society, it makes it hard for them to have like a real... They're very confused. It's scary. Yeah, I didn't... Like, Glenn Beck did a show on it the other day about, like, how lost our kids are. And I looked at my kids and I'm like, hey, my kids are pretty grounded, But then the more that I interact with, like, the 20-year-olds and that, and younger, like, in that age group, I'm like, wow, you guys, like, nobody ever taught you to stand for a value. And when they did stand for a value, suddenly it was ripped out from underneath them and it was wrong and we're doing something else. And then it's about the next big thing and the next big thing, and they never, like, learn to hang on to that concept of what is their basis for their personality and their life. And it was a rude awakening, honestly, because I didn't want to believe that. But yeah, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's been interesting. So we got to get these kids grounded, man. Get back to our...
Snacking.
Yeah. I know.
It's like the whole life in the computer and the COVID quarantine lifestyle.
Even things like credit cards were developed in the 80s. We are the societal experiment right now. And I think that things like that are making us absolute slaves. And then come along the internet where it's just divided everybody and made them super easy to control after that. Because all you have to do is really manipulate one side and the other side's going to react because of it. So, yeah. I know. I was like, wow, that sucks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just keep teaching the traditional skills that we need to adapt on this planet, and just, keep those open arms. It's been so positive to see more of the young people at prepper camp and things like that hopefully...
Kids rolling down in the grass, right?
Yes. Yep. So hopefully we can just stay on that path and keep encouraging the younger generations to learn, because that's really going to be their salvation.
Yep.
And giving you you see how it works in nature. This is nature's law. This is what is your foundation for who you are. And that helps you navigate the waters of confusion that they're going to throw at you. All right. So there's a tantrum for you today. Usually I don't break into some... I try to stay away from the politics. We try to keep it focused, but
this Fox moment brought to you by
yes.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, Battle for the South, Dark Days in Denver, and The Endless Night at www.authorsarahfhathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast, become a supporter while you're there.